Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Learn GIS with Anna. That's me. We are heading to a new module today, and that is module number 4, spatial analysis. So we're finally looking into analysis. Of course, we're starting from some more simple ones, but also ones that are used a lot. So they will be very, very useful. In the first lesson, which is this one, we are looking into vector operations, and in the next one, to raster operations with some terrain data and satellite images. And in today's lesson with vector operations, we have a cool example of parks in Oslo that we're going to look into with population data. So we want to understand what parks are more popular based on the population living around them. And we're going to use 4 basic vector operations: clip, buffer analysis, spatial aggregation, which can be considered a bit more advanced sometimes, but it's so simple to do in Atlas. I would definitely have it in the simple category. And lastly, spatial join. All right, but let's get started. We are in Atlas, of course, and I have already opened a project here and brought in this one dataset of population data. I found this from just the open geodata portal of Norway. But let's bring in a bit more data. So I would like to have this dataset of different districts of Oslo. It's basically just to have the boundaries of Oslo, but I mean, this one is just a dataset I already have, so let's use it. So there we have Oslo boundaries, and what we're going to do now is we bring in a third dataset, but we do it straight in Atlas, so we are going to use one of our integrations. So if you have watched some previous lessons, you might have seen this one, but here under data actions on the right side, we have import data from. So these are our integrations. In the next lesson, we are going to have a look in these. But now we could use overture maps, but I am so used to using OpenStreetMap. And you might even know what that is because maybe that's a bit more known. So let's open all integrations and choose OpenStreetMap. And nowadays we have this box that you can choose your area, which is super nice. So let's go and add our area. All right, so now we have whole Oslo inside there, and let's go and search for park, leisure park, and then we query that. And we have the data. You can barely see it because there's so much happening here. Actually, we can just hide this population data set because we only need the data. We don't need to see it. And actually now we can also hide, or maybe not yet. Let's not hide the bydeler just yet. Actually, we can call it Oslo districts. Wait, what, did I write it correctly? Maybe not. Anyway, I would like to have the parks only of this area, so now you can see that you have some parks here a bit around. So let's go and do our first vector operations. So we are on the right side panel, data actions, and we go to vector operations, and then we go to clip, and then we are keeping data from parks inside this area, and then we choose Oslo's districts. And it gives the preview, but it's running the operation in the background. Okay, we got it. So now that's all the purple ones. So we can actually go ahead and delete this old data set of parks so that we don't have the unnecessary ones anymore. Now we can also hide the districts, and now we can call this one Parks in Oslo. Let's go. And what we want to do next is our second vector operation, which is a buffer analysis. So let's go back to vector operations on the right side, and we choose buffer. And we want to create the buffer around the parks, of course. And let's take something like 500 meters. That might be quite a good distance to a park, right? I don't know, would you just go to a park that's... Okay, you might, but I mean, 500 meters is pretty accessible. So let's go ahead and run that one. All right, and we have the buffer. I can just rearrange the layers just to show you for clarity. So here are the parks, and there is the buffer around them. I didn't dissolve this now. You could also do it here. If you would just click this one, you would get it all dissolved together, but then you would only have one layer in your dataset, and we don't want that now. But what we want is to do spatial aggregation of this one, which is one of my favorite operations in Atlas, actually. It is pretty damn cool and easy. That's what I love. So let's go. We are still in vector operations, and let's go to spatial aggregation. So now what we want to do, we use finally the population dataset. So we are going to calculate the statistics for that dataset. So befolkning, sorry, I should have renamed that, but I didn't. That's Norwegian and means population. At least I think so. I'm not Norwegian, actually. And okay, inside these zones, so now we want to use the buffers we just created, And then columns to analyze. You have different types of columns in this population dataset, but I think we can go for something like population total. And let's run that one. Cool. Now we have a new buffer layer. Basically, it's just called this spatial aggregation. But now we can go and hide the buffer one. I can, again, for clarity, just rearrange the layers. But now we are still not done. We are going to do our last vector operation, which is going to bring all of this together, basically. So we are going to spatially join parks in Oslo with spatial aggregation so that we get the population inside those buffer areas, so around the parks for the park. Okay, that was so unclear. So basically what we want to know is how much population lives around these parks, so then we can style those parks based on that and understand what parks are probably more popular than others. Okay, so let's go and do this. You'll see, maybe that's more clear than my explanation. So let's go and join. Now we need to use first the park dataset. We join that with the spatial aggregation. You have different join types. They differ a bit if it's, for example, crossing or touching or completely overlapping within, you know, but intersect is probably the most common. So let's just run that one. And we have a new layer again. So now I would say we can actually hide everything else here because we don't want to see anything else but these parks. And wait a second, we will style them. This is not done yet, okay? But now, first things first, let's just rename the layer. So this is parks in Oslo by a population. I still don't know if I wrote that correctly. My screen is sort of far away from me, and my vision far away isn't the best. So sometimes I just cannot see. So if I'm like this, you know the reason. But let's go and click that layer now so we can do some styling. You already know a bunch about styling from our previous lessons, but let's go and continue with that. So right now we have the styling panel open and we go to fill and we style by field. We have also done that before. So we want to find now the population total mean, and that's what we found. And then maybe the outline is yet again super overpowering. So let's just do something like a bit gray, maybe, I don't know, and just make it like smaller so that we can barely see it. And also what we can do now is for styling, maybe just change the base map so that we don't have any of this like other stuff showing below. So let's just go and choose the light one so that we can only see the parks. This is nice. So, I clicked away the layer. Let's stay in there and let's now edit our color palette a bit. So I would probably choose something a bit more like, I don't know, park-like something like this, which is just a bit more diverging. So then you can see which parks have less population around them. So these ones are going from the darker green color all the way in the middle. You have this light yellow one to darker red. But we can also add steps so that we have more shades in our palette so that not everything is the same color. Then let's go and increase the fill so that we can actually see. And now we already have quite a good informative map here, I would say. But one thing more we can do is to go to base map options, remove the labels. Then we could actually go and add some labels for these parks. So we can go ahead and add text and we can choose the name of the park. Where might that be? Again, very much struggling to see. So there we go, name of the park. Ooh, that is big. Let's make that a bit smaller. And then we can maybe make the outline also a bit thinner so that it's a bit cleaner to see. But nice, now we have a good map, I would say, so we can see what are the parks called, what have more population around them, and which ones have less. And this was all for our basic vector operations lesson. Make sure that you keep watching to the next one, which is about raster operations. So we're going to look into terrain tiles and run some basic raster operations like slope analysis, maybe even contour lines. That one I really like. So let's do that one. I'll see you there. Bye bye.